Hello, today I'd like to create a production planning file, but before that I'd like to briefly explain what production planning is, why it's critical to business success. Production planning is the process of determining what products needs to be manufactured, in what quantities, and at what time to meet customer demand while utilizing resources effectively. It acts as a bridge between customer requirement, sales forecast, inventory levels, procurement activities, and manufacturing operations. The primary objective of production planning is to ensure that the right product is produced in the right quantity at the right time at the lowest possible cost. To achieve this, planners analyze demand forecasts, assess production capacity, evaluate material availability, and create feasible production schedule. The importance of production planning cannot be overstated. First, it helps organizations meet customer expectations by ensuring products are available when needed, improving service levels and customer satisfaction. Second, it optimizes the utilization of resources such as labor, equipment, and raw materials. Also, it helps to reduce waste and improve productivity. Effective production planning also helps control inventory levels. Without proper planning, companies may face excess inventory, which we already covered in the previous videos, and increase the carrying cost or stock shortages, which can lead to lost sales and dissatisfied customers. Additionally, a well-structured production plan improves coordination across departments, including sales, procurement, manufacturing, and logistics, creating a more efficient and responsive supply chain. In today's competitive business environment, production plannings play a vital role in balancing demand and supply, reducing operational costs, increasing profitability, and supporting sustainable business growth. Having said this, let's practice it in Excel file and see how we can create a production schedule. Alright, let's go with the simple example file, which you are receiving the demand in like something like this. SKU codes, description, and the forecast for the next 21 weeks, or if you have the more, it helps. How would you start with the production plan file? So let's create a production tab. I need to know a few things. So let's copy some of the headers from here. You need the SKU code and description, also the index. Let me just simply copy this. Uh, you need more indexes to here to calculate what are your production requirement and when you need it. So for when you need it, you need this production horizon. Just copying this one also into the production plan file. Alright, for the index, you may need to know what's the opening stock for your horizon. So let's add opening stock, and then you need to know what's demand, right? To calculate. And then what's the production quantity that you are going to calculate. Let's add one row also for stock adjustment in case there is a return, maybe it's a defective one, or there is some production error in the manufacturing report. And then you are going to add closing stock, and this closing stock also is an indicator that at the end of product, for example, week one, how much stock you have left. But then we need to translate it into the how many days it's covered or how many weeks it's covered. So we are adding another one as a stock cover. You just increase a bit to make it visible. Alright. And then you just need to drag this one to all because it's only one SKU. Uh, I need to add one more thing. I need to know how many working days you have per week. So the number of days per week. We assume that we are working 24/7 every week. If there is any public holiday or bank holiday that you're not working, you can just easily change it to 6 days maybe or 5 days. All right, this is the, let me just grab the painter. So yeah, we are good now. So you have the SKU code, description, and the index that we need. I need to add for two new parameters. One is the batch lot that you're going to make. So I say batch lot, let's go, I don't know, 300. So every production run that you're going to have, it's a multiple of 300 pieces or 1000 or kg. And then you need to define the stock coverage. What's the minimum that it needs to carry every week? Let's say stock cover, it's 4 weeks. So these are like tab one description, it's tab one value. Right. Let's calculate each index here. For the opening stock, whether you have the number and just put a value, or you can create another tab for the warehouse report that you are receiving the something very simple like SKU code, description, and the quantity for that reason. So I'm just going to use this one as a VLOOKUP of this here, third row, and that's it. So now you know the opening stock. For the demand, you know you have the demand table here. So you have the same parameters as the value. This is the key parameters. It's unique to each SKU. And you have the sales forecast here. So let's calculate. Again, I'm going to use the VLOOKUP. For this value, I like to drag this to the right. So I'm going to fix column C, and then the VLOOKUP, the lookup value is going to be this table, which is again fixed value, the column. Because I need to drag this to the right from starting from week 1 to week 20, I'm using column formula, which shows which column it needs to refer to. And then exact match. So here is the point. FG1 is in week 1 has a number of 605. However, it brought back 510. The reason why is that the column you referred here uh, is not starting, and the table that you have is not starting from column A. So you need to add a -1 here, which will give you the same value as 605, or change this value to column D. It says that it returns the fourth value in the table. Right, let's kind of drag this one, see if returning the same value. So for example, week 6 is 859, and here 859. All right, let's calculate the production quantity. But before that, let's calculate the rest of the index that we have, and then we back to the production. Stock adjustment is the weekly activity that you're going to update. For example, when you are in week 2, you're updating the stock adjustment in week 1. So you're leaving blank as is right now. Closing stock also is calculated a simple way. So it's the opening stock plus production and plus the adjustment minus demand. At the moment, there is no production, so it's showing negative number. So let's drag this one. So now we have almost everything. We'll back to cover rate. How to calculate the production. So I'm saying that if the sum of demand for a certain weeks, let's say for the next 8 weeks, to have the more data into our calculation, dividing by the number of days that we got in the same period, multiplied by 7 days, it's a number of working days that we got, right? Multiplied by stock cover that we got here, minus opening stock that we have, and adding up the demand here. If it's less than 0, put 0. It means that you have a bigger number of the opening stock value than demand, so you don't need to have the production. However, I guess I put more on this. Okay, I forgot this one. Okay, now put, and if it's not, it means that you don't have enough opening stock to cover your demand, so you would need to calculate what quantity you need. And we are good to go. So it shows that you need to run, you need to have the production of 3,500 in week 1 in order to have the enough production to cover the next 8 weeks. Okay. Remember, you had another constraint as a batch lot, so I'm going to add m round to this formula. So you have this calculation. We're going to use this. So it means that you need to run 3,600 piece of your SKU in week 1 in order to have closing stock of 3,000, which means equivalent to 4 weeks. Okay, let's see if it's covered for next 4 weeks. If you sum up the next 4 weeks production, forecast, equivalent to 2,400 pieces. At the end of that, you're carrying the 4 weeks coverage. In order to calculate the stock cover, we just need to use this simple calculation. So we say that this closing stock divided by sum of next 8 weeks of demand divided by sum of the number of working days that we got for that period uh, divided by 7. It's covering 4 weeks worth of uh, closing stock. So now let's drag this formula to see how it looks like. Here also we would need to fix some values for the production before we drag it to the end of the things that we have. So for the demand, it's rolling, so we don't need to fix it. Same for the number of days. However, these values needs to be fixed. So don't put it in a fixed value for column B because we need to copy this one for the other SKUs. The same thing happens for if we don't need, then same thing for B4 and the value for the batch lot that we have. Yeah, drag it, see if it works or not. Yeah, I made a mistake here. So B, yeah, it should be B, right? Yeah, here we go. So it carries. Okay, we missed one element, and that's opening stock. So opening stock of week 2 is closing stock of week 1, and here we go. We now have the numbers. So it's a very simple way. Shows that you would need to start in week 1 to in order to have a sufficient closing stock to cover and carry the 4 weeks worth of stock at the end of each cycle. The first run is of course bigger than the rest because you're building stock to have enough demand for first week and the next for 4 weeks. And it's very simple. So you just need to copy this one, drag this formula to end of our horizon. Okay, and make it a bit. Uh, table. Oops. Of course, you need to have this as a value. We put it in number. All right. Then for creating another one, for example, we have another scale. Just need to make it. Let's see what we have in a scale. Here is second finished good. Then just need to copy same thing. Let's check. Just need to do for these two. Right, see, you have the numbers here. Let's check the formulas. So it takes the opening stock of FG2 as of 200. Here's 200. If we make it to 250, change. Okay, it works. The demand also showing correctly 510, 928, 510, 928. Production shows parameters correctly. Here correct, demand here. However, see, we need to fix the number of days, and I need to fix this one to work properly. We drag, here we go, got a better numbers now. And let me make it more readable. So it's finished with 1, the other is finished with 2. And let's see why it's not reading it. Now, see, here also we need to change this one to number of days, and let's fix it. And now let's drag. Here we go. Of course, the last one doesn't have because your demand is not showing up after week 21. If you add the week 21 forward onward, it also calculates.